So back to what I was talking about with the New York Rangers tonight. Henrik Lundqvist is one of the biggest contenders in the NHL. Could get win number 30 against the Islanders, career win against the Islanders, number 30. Tonight's gonna be a really big night. These aren't the same Islanders from last year. They have a lot of skill. They can score. They have a lot of depth in the lineup. They can score, any way they can. I talked about it before. Brock Nelson, has 6 points in 2 games, 4 goals. He can score. John Tavares, you should never take him lightly. He has one of the best. He has probably one of the best hands in the NHL. He can skate, and I think over the offseason he's got a lot stronger. See to add some strength to his game. So it's interesting to see what will happen for the Islanders. I'm looking at Johnny Boychuk, recently acquired from the Boston Bruins. And if you look at the past 2 games, he's posted 5 points. And you look at it before, and you say, well, Johnny Boychuk really wasn't that offensively gifted for the Bruins. Not saying he wasn't a good defenseman. I think he was one of the best defensemen he had. But it seemed that Johnny Boychuk was almost overshadowed by the presence of Captain Zdeno Chara. Where, he was how can you miss him? Zdeno Chara is 6'9", can slap shoot a puck over 100 miles per hour. Where Johnny Boychuk does all the little things right. He can hit you. He adds some defensive presence. He can point the power play, and I think the Islanders are realizing this now. I think Johnny Boychuk especially realizing that, hey, listen, I've given a new opportunity on the New York Islanders. I had a good run-in with the Bruins. I won a Stanley Cup. How can you complain about that? But now I think I'm ready for a new role. Maybe get some more time on the ice. Maybe increase my offensive ability. There's no problem with that whatsoever, and we know that. And I think now he's realizing that he has a new opportunity to kind of shine with the New York Islanders, and when you're given that opportunity, you should definitely take advantage of it, without a doubt. And then you look at Yaroslav Halak, one of the team's top offseason acquisitions. He allowed 3 goals in an opening night victory against the Carolina Hurricanes, which is pretty. That's it's not bad. When you're in Carolina for that, it could be worse. And then you have the former Ranger Chad Johnson, and they were both signed last year, for a purpose. Add a little bit more depth to the goaltending. And then you have Mikhail Grabovski, Corey Conacher, Nikolai Kulemin. All these people were added up front, adding depth presence. They could all play hockey, especially Grabovski. I think Grabovski was underappreciated for the Maple Leafs. He went to Washington, played very, very well. Nikolai Kulemin, I think he was looking for a new role on the New York Islanders. I don't think Toronto was really a fit for him. And then with the addition of Johnny Boychuk, you also get Nick Leddy, who won a Stanley Cup with the Blackhawks. He's very skilled as well. He's a good defenseman. And same thing, when you're on a team with the Chicago Blackhawks, where Duncan Keith and all these really good defensemen, Brent Seabrook, where they kind of overshadow what a decent top 6 defenseman could do. So I think Nick Leddy's going to thrive in Long Island, where I think he's going to be very successful with the New York Islanders this season. Who's to know what they'll do this season? And you also mentioned the fact that there's a healthy John Tavares in the lineup. You have a newfound confidence coming to the island. You get back-to-back wins against the Hurricanes, and even though it's the Carolina Hurricanes, you take points any way you can get it. Don't diss the Islanders for getting 4 points. Just saying it was against the easy opponent. You should win those games. If you're playing against weaker teams, there's no doubt whatsoever. Those are the games you win, and you take advantage of from getting all the from getting the getting success from them. But if you were to say the Islanders were supposed to be a favorite in the NHL, if you were to say if Could they? Could they be a contender? I'd like to see them play some of the big boys in the NHL. What if they give the Penguins a run for their money in a few games? They don't have to win them, but what if they compete with them? Same thing with the Bruins. Where the Bruins even, the Bruins, they've scored 4 goals in their first, 3 or 4 games. They're looking for offense. They're kind of struggling so far. So who's to know? This whole Eastern Conference, the Rangers look kind of, even look last year. The Rangers, gave up 15 goals in 2 games against the San Jose Sharks and the Anaheim Ducks, and then they went on to go to the Stanley Cup Final. So there's no reason to say that, that what happens now is going to definitely, determine what's going to happen next in the season. But, you can ask me, all 2 people who are watching me, which is a huge crowd for me. It's sarcasm if you can't read it. You asked me on Twitter, could the Islanders make the playoffs? If they do make the playoffs, what's going to happen? And I think that the Eastern Conference is so wide open that I can't tell at all who can make the playoffs. You're only 2 games in. Expect Tampa Bay to make some noise. Even Montreal. Montreal's 3-1. The Dallas Star. I've not spoken about the Dallas Stars that much at all. They're 0-1-1, but they have quite the lineup. You have Tyler Seguin, who, in my opinion, I think is gonna explode this season, especially after last season. They had a very good year. You have Jason Spezza, Alex Hemsky, even Eric Cole. Eric Cole's a role player. He's not going to be a superstar again, but he can still score you goals. Vernon Fiddler is a good acquisition for the Dallas Stars the past couple of seasons. Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn. Jamie Benn's probably one of the top Canadian players in the NHL. Especially you look at Tyler Seguin, who he was kind of plagued as a party boy when the Bruins won the Stanley Cup, but he came up really big, and 2011, 2012 he scored 29 goals. Last year he scored 37, scored 8 more than his career high, got 84 points in 80 games. That's very, very good. Thus far, the past 2 games he has yet to score, but I wouldn't be nervous if I was a Dallas Stars fan. I really do think he's going to be future superstar in the NHL, if he's not one already. And the poor Buffalo Sabres. See, the Buffalo Sabres, if I were them, honestly, I would just, tank. I would just tank and hopefully get Connor McDavid. And for any of you who are listening who don't know, Connor McDavid is probably the most anticipated, NHL draft nominee since Sidney Crosby. And he can seriously, play. And then you look at what happened. I'm actually gonna look up some of his stats. But he's the real deal, folks. He's only 17, so for all of us, he's pretty much younger than all of us, and he can still compete at a ridiculous level. Let's see, 2013-2014 season, he had 99 points in 56 games. He had 70. A lot of these numbers are insane. And he's still a kid. He's only 17. He was playing the OHL when he was 15 against players who are 20s, 21. All these players are 6 years older than him, and he's making them look stupid. So I think that's pretty crazy. And I really don't think with the lineup the Buffalo Sabres have, I think adding Josh Georges from the Canadiens and Brian Giunta, and even Zemgus Girgensons, I really don't think that the Sabres are, looking for a bad season. No one's expecting a lot from the Sabres this year, and I know that. But I think they're going to look for a season where they can, they might not win a lot of games, but they can still compete. Drew Stafford's still a very good player. He posted up 3 points in 3 games. Tyler Ennis, Girgensons, Matt Molson, who with the Islanders was a perennial 30-goal scorer. Andre Mazzaros, who does have a lot of experience. He went in 2007. He went to the Stanley Cup Finals with the Ottawa Senators against the Anaheim Ducks. They didn't win that, but you're adding in a lot of experience with the Buffalo Sabres. But there's just a lot of questions to be asked. Who's going to take the new spot? Who's going to take each other's spots once the team goes up? Tyler Myers hasn't really, he won the Norris back when he was a rookie in 2010, but it's really hard to say, who's going to, if he continues his decent sense of play. Look, his rookie year he scored 48 points, and his production dropped to 22 from last year. He dropped 10 points the next year, almost 14 points the year after that. Played 55 games. You give him a break on that. Then 39 games, scored 8 points. So it's in 62 games, 22 points. So the injury bug unfortunately has been prevalent for Tyler Myers. Who's to know? Maybe a change of scenery. That happens a lot of times with NHL players. They're on one team. They don't like playing for them. They're not a big fan of it, and they just kind of, just find another niche with someone else. And there's no problem with that whatsoever. Some people just need to change the scenery, and that can really jumpstart their career. So I'm actually hoping. I want to see Tyler Myers, be successful in the NHL, especially with the Sabres. Unfortunately, the Sabres really aren't that good. They were awful last year, probably going to be projected as being equally as awful this year. So it's just interesting to see what will happen with the Buffalo Sabres. So tonight, I'll just give you a round-off of the games tonight. We have the Islanders and the Rangers, the Flyers and the Ducks, Washington and San Jose. That'll be a very interesting game to watch, where you have Joe Thornton on the Sharks and Alex Ovechkin on the Washington Capitals. Dallas and Columbus. You have Buffalo and Carolina, who I was both talking about before. A lot of good games tonight. Nothing really showing really ultimate interest. Tomorrow you have Boston and Detroit playing. That's an original 6 matchup. That'll be very fun to watch. But for now, I think that very good show. I'll actually probably see you guys tomorrow, Faz Fest, with my good friend Alex Vizano. But for now, I think Iona College Center Ice is going to take a break. We'll probably see you guys next week. Very good show. I enjoyed it a lot. And then we'll have a bunch of new games next week. Hopefully the Rangers can win some games, but if they don't, I'll be able to talk about that. So I'll see you guys next week. Have a great day.
Stadium as the greatest reliever says goodbye to the game.
Number 42, Mariano Rivera. A 16-pitch, 3 up, 3 down, all-star game finale for Mariano Rivera.